which is almost like time travel. Dressing rods is not about putting clothes on twiggy bits. I don't want the twiggy bits in. Hey up Woodlanders, how are you today? We're back in Rosseston this week. I'm getting ready for the Heartwood team. They're a woodfuel community group who work in woodlands to extract firewood for their own use and in the process actively manage the woodlands here in the National Forest. They're going to come in and thin some of these oaks out. My job today is to extract what's left of the rods I'm going to use for hazel hurdles. I don't really want the oaks being dropped onto the rods and then inadvertently, as you're cross-cutting and snedding the stems, the chainsaw is almost guaranteed to cut straight through some of the rods if it's on the top. And then also I've got to mark up the rest of the oak trees. Dressing rods is not about putting clothes on, it's about knocking knobbles off the side, just getting little twiggy branches off. But it's really nice in a woodland where you've got the bird song and just your own thoughts. It's kind of like a mindfulness day, compartmentalised each thought so it's in its slot, stays there and doesn't trouble you. There's a bit of an update. A couple of weeks ago I went on about my mental health and I was having a bit of a bad week that week. In fact, I had a bit of a bad week for a couple of 3 weeks. But I would say, rather than being fully over it, I would say it troubles me less. If you've not seen that, I'll leave a link to that particular video. Got a lot of comments on that, and I do appreciate that. A lot of people, both on and off YouTube, have come to me and chatted to me about it, which is really nice. I'd say I'm steady. It's around about a 65-70 at the moment. So it's kind of a rating of your mental health mood as a percentage. So 0 is bad, 100% is spot on. But we can't always be 100% all the time. So I'd say today I'd feel about 60%. Look at the state of that. It's dreadful, isn't it? If you're starting in Coppice, particularly hazel, and you've looked online and thought, how on earth am I meant to get out such straight rods for stuff? I found it quite demoralising at first, and so I sort of ploughed on. Thought, I've got to make this work. I've got to somehow cover my time. I still sell bent and wobbly things. That's not really nice. It's not ideal. It's not what Monty Don uses, particularly for bean poles. We have to make do with what we've got. So for that, the wonky ones don't really matter. In reality, a bent bean pole or a straight bean pole has no effect on the beans themselves. Nature never produces anything particularly straight. It's us humans that want to make everything linear and in lines and cut and square. And so if you're working some rough old hazel and you think, oh, this is miserable, take comfort in the knowledge that I sell out of bean poles every year. Last year was one of the biggest ever years. I think I sold about 650, 700 bean poles. Well, that for me is a success, isn't it? Let me know if you agree on that. If you're working with some wonky hazel, let me know. Do you sell your bean poles? And do you agree with my selling wonky bean poles philosophy? Love to know what you think. Bottom line is, I'm just trying to make a living and restore neglected hazel. Hopefully the people that buy the things that I make can see that I'm trying my best to make a difference in a way. I mean, look at that. I've got bean poles like that. Well, I've just recorded 2 extra videos and we've been doing a massive markup project. You might see some of the orange spots behind me. That's getting ready for Heartwood tomorrow. It's a pretty intensive thin. We've done something similar in years past where we've given the oaks a right good old thin out and they've come back really well, and so has the hazel. I've got about half an hour left and I'm desperate to try and get as many rods out as possible before the end of today. I'm going to drag the rest of them out by hand just now. Right, we're done. It's starting to rain again. Let's get these strapped on. I'm going to go home. I don't fancy getting soaking wet. And I'll see you bright and early tomorrow with the Heartwood team. If you're in Heartwood and you're still watching, you'll see this about a week later, so I won't see you tomorrow, but I will see you tomorrow, but you won't see me till next week, which is almost like time travel. See you in the morning. I need to go to bed. Morning all. Heartwood team have arrived. It's going to be utter chaos any second now. My mission today is of course getting this lot out, dressing all these rods.
I was at the till. This woman, on the till says to the lady that got in, thank you, turns round. And I've got one of the big scary clowns on my t-shirt. She goes like that. She says you can't wear that. Of course I can. You'll scare the children.
Gathering footage ready for the next wood log. You fancy that one? Lunch has been called. Cracking morning so far. Beautiful sunshine. A cool start. 1 degree this morning. Peace has certainly been shattered today. Normally I get quite a peaceful day on the rod dressing, but today, and you know what? It's snowing. No way. Yeah, it's snowing. What? And that's it. We have peace. The sound of no saws. I'll do you a little guided tour in a minute, see where we've got to with it. I've still got the rest of my rods to dress, but I think another couple of hours and we'll get these done. Makes for a pretty chaotic day in the end when you've got Heartwood here, because there's so many people and so many people saying hello and chatting to you about this, this and this. It's great really, sort of brings your adrenaline levels up and sort of gets you all fired up, and lots of encouragement and enthusiasm, which is brilliant. Done me a power of good really actually, and raises the percentage, which thanks ever so much, and I'll see you next week. That's the Heartwood guys, not you guys. Whew, that was confusing. Let me just adjust your head a little bit. That's it. We've not had many small rods out of this woodland this year. They're kind of the ones that I use for my Havel weaving panels. Not had a great quantity, but I'm trying to better the quality. One more bundle left to do. We are almost done at Rossiston. Just one more felling day, which is next week. We could see the rest of the oaks finished by then, and we can put Rossiston to bed for the rest of the summer. Leave Jeff in peace to relax in the peace of his own woodland here in Rossiston, and we can go off and use the wood that we've extracted for whatever purpose we've got. Hazel hurdles, charcoal wood, we've got craft poles ready for more hazel hurdle courses, and then whatever else we can think of to use up the timber. The last rod, the last bundle. It's weird because when you first start a coppice cut, you're like, oh, this is never ending. Feels like an enormity of a challenge. But now it's done, it's like, oh, I could do that all over again. And I will be, probably in October, November. Back here again. I think, let me just check. 2 minutes. We'll get these in the van. And then we'll go and have a look at last year's coppice, last year's coppice, and next year's coppice. Definitely making some more daylight in here. Very impressive. So you remember that one with a double split? One went up that way and one went up this way. And we were on about putting the gob cuts, some people call them, one this side and one this side, and then boring through the middle and watching both ones go at the same time on a slow-mo. Only Dave, who was felling it, didn't want to do that, and we were all trying to coax him into doing it. He decided to fell one way and one the other way as individual trees. It would have made for some epic slow motion footage, but Dave was not up for it, and so we didn't get that. Another Dave, he's been on some of the big silver birch. This one apparently was 60 foot tall, 19 metres Dave recorded it at. So in 20 years, 20 metres tall. So this is last year's coppice. This is next door to where we were just working. And you can see some of the regrowth in here. This is the hazel regrowth. So this, I'm 5'7". You're now the same height as my eyes. And we're looking at another foot above that. So at least 6 foot regrowth. So that's last year's coppice. This time last year we finished in here. But I did notice that this one on the edge is coming into leaf, look, which is quite early, and maybe the frost might burn that off yet. 2 years ago, which is just opposite the way, we're now up to, some of these are up to all about 8-9 foot tall at the tips. Notice quite a prevalence of thistle. However, this was barren when I came in. There was actually no growth at all. Now you think, oh, I don't want thistle. Well, you see, thistle has flowers, and flowers are good for the bees, and they're good for the butterflies, and they're good for caterpillars and all the grubs that go around that. So if it's got flowers on and it's not one of them nuisance weeds, then it's all good. We want more flowers. Well, let's go and explore what the project is for next year What on earth is Jeff going to get us doing next year? Where's the coop? What's it look like? And what on earth am I taking on next year? Brambles near, my enemy. Just a little bit further on is this corner. Quite a bit of hazel in there. I've definitely been in this block before because I was getting out some weaving rods for an order. This has been cut before, and I'm thinking it might be better to come in here first. So all of this, all around here, right through to, this brings us out onto another ride, which is getting close back to base camp again. Ah yes, right next to the pond, I remember. Looks nice, doesn't it? So unless Jeff tells me any differently, we are going to go for that little bit I've just shown you, next year's cut. Right, we'll go and get this offloaded up our woodland. Hey Woodlanders, whew, it's a chilly morning. This is the Arctic blast. It's supposed to be about -6 and it's not. It's 0. Never trust the weatherman. Today it's a little bit of some solitary action in our woodland, with just the last little bit of brush cutting left to do. The other day we had a delivery of charcoal bags, which are from Selway Packaging. They work along with the National Coppice Federation, and because of a debate that I had last summer about our boxes, because we produce charcoal in boxes, it seems there is demand still for bags, and I was trying to convert all of what we did into boxes, but it seems like I'm having to go back. So we're going to have the boxes still. That's going to be our smaller product, and then our larger product is these big Selway bags. I never really wanted to do it, but the market is pushing me that way, and well, that's it. We'll just go with the market. It's no good being stubborn. This is Karen's cake mixing jug, just don't tell her. Thinking of buying one of these Husqvarna jerry cans, don't bother. I don't like the filling spouts, they stick and then they boshes out everywhere. I've heard on the forestry grapevine that the still ones are better. So if you want to buy a combi can, let me know. I'll do you a good deal. That's what I mean. It sticks, and it's, of course when it sticks it sort of boshes out. Here we go again. That is this bottom section complete. It's not an area I bring you down to very often. This was the hazel coppice from last year. This is doing alright actually. This was planted 20 odd years ago in our woodland. So first maiden cut, 6 years later cut it again, and then it's had 1 year's regrowth. And it's now, it should start to produce some pretty decent rods, and it is really, looking at this, some half decent, fairly straight sort of rods, which is pretty good. It's only really the second cut after maiden cut that you start to get some really impressive rods, but I'm hopeful for this. Should be alright, this one. One last little bit to knock off. Those keen spotted amongst you may noticed it's snowing. We've got all that in there. Somewhere in there is a corner post and a thuya tree. And that completes the project. I think this corner hasn't been cut in about 8 years. I'm glad all that's done. You can safely say that's ticked off the list. The next project is branch logging. I'm not doing that because I'm tight, you know. Although I am tight. It's to drain the fuel for storage. Simple reason is, if you leave fuel in a machine for anything more than about 2 or 3 months, especially the 2 strokes, the fuel evaporates and you're left with just the 2-stroke oil in the carburettor, and then it gums up all the diaphragms. So top tip for this week, money saving tip, drain your fuel tank if you're not using machine. I'll see you Friday, all being well. Good morning all. Welcome to the Antarctic and 4 fingers France. I'm ready to start the day and I'm still frozen. Today, you may have guessed, it's branch logging day. That is me done for today. I've not done a great deal of filming today. I just wanted to, I was on a mission trying to crack on, get as much done as I could. Next week we'll be back again doing a little bit more of this. I'm hoping to try and get it done all in one day, but I think that's a bit much because I want to conduct some experiments, so I don't want the twiggy bits in. But thanks for watching, guys. If you're able to, try and enjoy some of this woodland goodness. I'll see you next time. I feel wasted again. Totally exhausted. Hey up, watch out. Here comes the boss man. Hey up, Dazza. How's it going then? Hey up, boss. We're doing alright, mate. We're getting top side of this bramble. Nearly done. Excellent. It's a good job done, that. Have you enjoyed doing it? I have actually, yeah. Really thoroughly enjoyed knocking the bramble down. It's like clearance work. Really quite enjoy it, to be honest. I'm glad I've done this one. I'll be honest with you, mate. You let it go a bit too far. I'm a bit disappointed in you. You could have done with doing this a couple of years ago. Sorry about that, boss. 1 or 2 things got on top of me. Not been able to do it. Anyway, we've got top side of it now. So, we're cooking on charcoal. Well, I am glad. Hopefully we can do a little bit better in future years. Trusting you to get it right and look after this place. I'm doing my best. Leave it with me. We'll be alright. Trust me, we'll be alright. Time's moving on. I've got to dash onto the next site. Check the workers there, make sure they're doing the job properly as well. I'll see you in a bit. Keep up the good work. See you, boss. Control freak.
I heard that.
Glad he's gone.